Okay, so we're recording. I really love B movies, like not that they're bad movies, but like second tier movies. I don't think they really exist as much as they used to. There used to be a direct to video market, and while now when people think of that, we think of the worst examples, and things have become sort of Sharknado ish. I actually really loved in the 80s and 90s, there was this other market, and I think earlier than that as well, but there was this other market that had a little bit more legitimacy to it. I'm in the middle right now of watching Death Machine from 1994, and it's a Stephen Norrington movie, and while I was watching it, I'm really enjoying it. It's really cool. It's about a evil arms manufacturing corporation in the future of, I think it's 2003, which is hilarious, and how the CEO is finding out that they're responsible for creating a man-machine hybrid and trying to cover it up, and Brad Dourif plays this psychotic genius, like cyberneticist or robotics expert that makes this machine and sicks it on people. And anyway, you could just tell that there's a lot of love in it, and there are 4 different versions of the movie, and I'm watching this 2-hour cut, and so this is Stephen Norrington's first movie. And as I'm watching it, I open up, I'm like, Stephen Norrington, what else did he do? Because, I mean, obviously Blade, obviously, and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And these 2 movies, they, like, encapsulate his career in my mind this whole time. I'm like, obviously Blade is genius. It pretty much started modern superhero movies. Everything that you see after Blade, like, that is the beginning of an era of films and an aesthetic. And Stephen Norrington did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and that obviously has this notoriously bad situation with Sean Connery, and their butting heads in the studio and the pressure, and so he doesn't make more movies after League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Like, his career's kind of toast. And so I was just surprised this movie, Death Machine, was recommended, and I was like, what else has he done? And really, he's done almost nothing else. But while I was on his Wikipedia page, I forgot that I was supposed to start this with welcome to the Pagemaster with me, the Pagemaster. Today we're going to take a page. It's going to be a web page off of Wikipedia. It's Stephen Norrington. Underneath career, there's a tab that says unrealized projects. And I took a quick look, but we're going to go through it now. And I'm just interested. We're just going to look at all the different things that Stephen Norrington didn't do, but might have done, and whether that was, I don't know, a good thing or a bad thing in the end. Yeah, he basically, after 2003's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, he left mainstream filmmaking. If you want to know what he's doing now, actually, there's a whole section talking about how he now makes really low-budget films that he can manage himself that could be independently funded. He's got a $50,000 movie, I believe, that's on the way. Like, they said they were going to be ready for 2026, which it is now the start of 2026, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Early on in his career, Norrington was actually a special effects guy, and so he worked on other movies. And one of the things that I thought was particularly interesting is he did special effects on Hardware. I'm not sure. It's the Richard Stanley movie. Richard Stanley's the director who had a lot of promise at the beginning of his career, and then was tapped to direct The Island of Dr. Moreau, and it famously goes really, really bad. He actually is the subject of this documentary, Lost Soul, The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau. And this is a crazy story all on itself. Like, he goes crazy. He leaves the project. They replace him with another director, but he sticks around in the jungle and then ends up as an extra in like a monkey suit or like a beast suit on the set. And they don't just, there's sabotage, fires break out. It's absolutely nuts. He has a nervous breakdown, and he never really quite recovers. And he also does independent filmmaking now, a much smaller scale. I don't know whether it has to be something about the sensitivity of these artists, that they're great craftsmen, their attention to detail, maybe not great dealing with people, but probably more so just not great dealing with the compromises of working within a studio system. So while I found that interesting, is that Richard Stanley's career kind of ended with his really bad experience on Island of Dr. Moreau, and in this case with Stephen Norrington, his career basically ends after all the frustration of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which did not turn out great. So, okay. All that being said, let's take a look at this page on Wikipedia. You can follow along if you would like. The unrealized projects. Okay, now I did also kind of notice earlier, by the way, that he was offered in 2008 that he could direct a reboot of The Crow, which, I don't know, that's kind of interesting. I mean, I think that seeing The Crow in 94 and then seeing Blade in, what's Blade, 98, I think? It does feel like there's something, some kind of connective tissue. There's the regenerative powers, but there's also like this visual style. Like The Crow is very much black leather and had a more gothic tint to it. But this vampire movie with superheroes, because they also, The Crow had a lot of martial arts action, and so does Blade, and it's got a different aesthetic, but still very comic booky. The black leather trench coat also crosses over, the martial arts crosses over, the regenerative powers of healing powers of vampires and whatnot, that crosses over, but it had a very clean, sort of futuristic style, I think, that really made it distinct from the rest of the pack. So that's kind of interesting there. He was also originally attached to Ghost Rider, which I think that's another one where I feel like it would have been interesting to see what he could have done. And also Clash of the Titans. So, okay, so the unrealized projects. So he was offered to direct Blade 2. We can sort of start there. So Blade 2, he turned it down. We got Guillermo del Toro doing an even better movie. I mean, special effects wise, definitely. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Guillermo gave it a little bit of grit. It also kind of really helped to launch Guillermo. He had done Devil's Backbone and Kronos before this. I think those are the two. And they're both excellent, but they're much smaller scale movies. And Blade 2, he really gets to, like, I don't know, shine. I'm not sure his career would have been the same, so maybe that's for the best. Not that Norrington would have done a bad job, but I don't think we lost out there. Then, in 2001, Norrington became attached to John Sayles' long-in-development script adaptation of Brother Termite, which I am not familiar with, so I can't add a lot of context to that. 2001, Norrington was attached to Dimension Films' Ghost Rider, so that was the one that was eventually the 2007 Mark Steven Johnson one. That's the first one, right? Yeah, that's the first one. I mean, that could have used all the help it could have gotten, so that would have been interesting. Then he was also going to direct a Hands of Shang-Chi Master of Kung Fu, which we got to see a version of Shang-Chi, the one that we got. And that's also very interesting to me because I don't think Shang-Chi's particularly strong, honestly. Like, you know, I think that the casting was okay, but the story of the father being the bad guy, it seemed pretty obvious, and I don't think there was a lot of depth to the story. I don't know whether Norrington would have brought that, but that would have been interesting. I don't think that Shang-Chi, as we have it, is... I don't know, I feel like it's just a mid-tier Marvel movie. It's not the worst, but it's not one of the highlights, in my opinion. And what else have we got here? He was slated to do a remake of 1988's Akira with James Robinson writing. Is that James Robinson, the comic, like Starman James? It is. Starman James Robinson. That's pretty amazing. Oh, wait a minute, but he also wrote the film adaptation of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Ooh. Oh, okay, well. Yeah, you win some and you lose some, and you know what? I'm sure they just screwed over his script. I'm sure that it was much better than what that final product ended up being. Because he was also working, if Norrington was, you know, wanting to work with him again after League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Was that before? No, that was 2002. So he passed on that. Yeah. So I guess that was in the works. But then League of Extraordinary Gentlemen wasn't a great success anyway, and so they put that project on hold, it says. Oh my god. And then obviously there were going to be sequels to League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but that did not happen. Then he was going to do Clash of the Titans. Then, yeah, and then The Crow. Oh, and the supernatural action thriller The Lost Patrol, which also didn't happen. And now we'll just end this with, underneath it says independent filmmaking. After his departure from studio filmmaking, Norrington has focused on independent projects produced single-handedly from his home studio. In 2018, Blade co-star Stephen Dorff mentioned Norrington was making a movie at his house with miniatures, though Dorff was conflating 3 separate DIY projects Norrington was working on. As of November 2025, Norrington is in post-production on The Migrant, which is a feature-length science fiction film about robots produced for approximately 50 grand. The film is going to combine live action, practical effects, and CGI with a 7.1 soundtrack, and he described it as the best experience of his life, and thinks he'll finish it within a year. I mean, that sounds awesome. I wish more people would make more low-budget films and take more risks. I think the studio system is stagnating because, I mean, I don't know. Look at Transformers 1. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I was just sickened by the marketing campaign. I don't want to see Chris Hemsworth's face. Why are you spending money on Chris Hemsworth when you could just get a voice actor for scale that could use the work? And I don't mean that in a slight against Chris Hemsworth. I mean it more in the sense that, like, this is a big bloated budget. If you want to make money, then decrease the cost of what the movie is and increase your chances of making it a big success. But instead, every time you add a big name onto it, and I just think about the audience that you're going for. What kids care whether it's Chris Hemsworth? They don't. So I feel like studios kind of shoot themselves in the foot, and they could make more movies for less money and more creativity. We might get, more interesting results. I wish studios would bring back B movies, I guess is what I'm saying. A second tier of movies that cost, can be more creative, $50,000, maybe even $100,000, but just not 70, 100 million, 400 million, whatever. Seems silly. Stephen Norrington, I don't know, man. I hope that his new movie is great, and I think that, considering the impact that he made with Blade on cinema, it's just undeniable. And League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, I just don't feel was his vision, so I feel like he's unfairly getting the blame for that. And then maybe his personality doesn't suit big budget films, and so he's doing independent stuff. So I hope that turns out, and that we get to see it, and that it's everything that he's promising. I'm going to go back and watch Death Machine now, the rest of Death Machine. I highly recommend Death Machine. 1994 is a good year for movies, and it's a little bloated, the 2-hour cut, I have to say. I feel like the 2-hour cut to me seems like a younger filmmaker having filmed everything he needed, but maybe not having the discernment to just snip little parts here and there to make it flow a little faster and to get to the point. There's a lot of Blade Runner influence in it. Characters are named after other horror directors, so there's a character in it named John Carpenter. There's a character in it named Scott Ridley, like Ridley Scott, Blade Runner. There's a character named Yutani, a character named Wayland, like Wayland Yutani from Aliens. There's a character named Raimi for Sam Raimi. There's a character named Jack Dante, which is like an homage to Joe Dante. Anyway, it's really cool. It's got lots of practical effects. It's one of those low budgets where you can just feel the love, that there was a lot of effort put into it, and I really appreciate that. So I'm going to go back and watch that, and I'll see you guys next week.